Hi everyone, I'm Christina. We will be presenting on Chapter 1, What is Deviant Behavior? Okay, there is a big deal of disagreement on what is defined as deviant and deviant behavior. A similar lack of agreement also stems from leading professionals such as sociologists. The two opposing branches of deviance are positivism and constructionism. Each defines deviance differently and views the subjects and uses the theories in different ways.
There are three important notions that collectively make up the positivist perspective. Absolutism says that deviance is an existing phenomenon. In other words, it's real, as opposed to something that's conventional. Early sociologists thought certain biological and physiological traits made deviant individuals different from law-abiding citizens. Positivists in 2017 focus on social factors and are very careful with context and cultures in regards to deviance. Something that is socially accepted in the United States, such as freedom of speech, could be considered deviant in a less democratic country.
The second phenomenon that positivists focus on is objectivism, how people study deviance through viewing their subjects. This is a very difficult issue because ethics also plays a part as well as what the best method is. How sociologists treat their subject is a very important issue not only in deviance, but sociology as a whole. While it is hard to view a human being without some bias, positivists try to emulate natural science when viewing their subjects. They try to be as objective as possible. They use various data and conduct studies to ultimately figure out why people engage in deviant behavior.
Constructionists believe that deviant behavior is subjective. This means that deviant individuals is a conscious person who can think and feel. Also, subjects can be reflective and aware of themselves. Constructionists think that there is a difference between humans as active subjects, non-human beings, and objects as passive objects. However, this violates the constructionist humanist values about their subjects, that they have feelings. Constructionists often present deviants as normal human beings. We are all subjective. Sociologists think it is important to study humans as objectively as possible so that bias is not shown in research. However, this violates the constructionist humanist values about their subjects, that they have feelings. Constructionists often presents deviants as the same as normal human beings. We are all subjective.
The third view under the constructionist perspective is voluntarism, deviance as a voluntary act. A constructionist perspective is in opposition to the positivist perspective. Constructionist view on deviance are as follows. Belief that the deviant behavior is a voluntary act. It serves as an expression of human volition, will, or choice. Humans determine their own behavior because of free will. It opposes the positive view that humans are like robots. States that control agencies label and target deviants. Claims deviants seek positive meaning for their behaviors. Says deviants justify their actions to make themselves superior, and states that deviants blame their victims for being at fault in the first place.
Early sociologists were initially opposed to the idea of free will, and instead they chose determinism. The reasoning behind it was that free will undermined deviance, because after all, if we had the choice to do whatever we wanted, why would we just choose the bad things? Today, researchers, we do agree with the concept of free will, but we exclude choice as a reason as why people commit deviance. Choice doesn't differentiate from a deviant act from something that's normal. So that we use factors instead to understand what causes deviance. For just to relay the point, deviant acts are caused by external forces, not by our actions. We don't choose that. It happens to us instead. And we have only we have to understand that a factor can determine or cause us to choose one option over the other. We can consider it like in terms of spousal abuse. Because of spousal abuse, the wife might consider the option of killing her husband more than not killing it. And deviation in conventional behaviors cannot be explained by choice. Deviance is absolute, inevitable, and distinguishable from conventional behavior. Number two, it's observable. We can create like an objective observation based on deviance with the deviant person in question. And number three, it's just beyond our control. It's determined by factors that we have any influence on, and that's determinism.
I will be speaking about relativism and deviance as a label. To summarize, the main points of this section are: Number 1, deviant characteristics do not come from behavior itself, but from people's minds. 2, an act will only appear as deviant because an individual thinks so. 3, the existence of deviance depends on a label that is assigned by society. However, laws can vary from state to state. Number 4, it is common for there to be a lack of consensus when it comes to classifying someone as a deviant or a deviant act. Number 5, constructionists are interested in the why people are labeled as deviant, not in their actions. 6, behavior gets defined as deviant relative to a norm or standard based on their society. And finally, if there's no label, there is no deviant.
To understand what deviant behavior is, we need positivist and constructionist perspectives. Constructionists view deviance as a label, and positivists view deviance as the act really occurring. Deviance is both behavior and label. A constructionist perspective is less serious kinds of deviance, mainly in ways of not harming other people. Example like prostitutes, drug users, sex tourists, and other examples such as. Positive perspective is closely related to what society considers deviant behavior, for example, murder, rape, and other such deviant acts. Positivists and constructionists differ in the amount of public consensus. Higher consensus deviance is studied by positive sociologists, and lower consensus deviance is studied by constructionist sociologists.
Deviance in and of itself is a much broader thing than crime. A crime is when someone breaks a law, but deviance is when someone breaks a norm. Law is a part of norms. A criminal act is definitely a deviant act, as a crime violates an established law. Deviance opens up the door for crimes. Committing a deviant act does not necessarily mean you are committing a crime or you are a criminal, but when you commit a crime, you are definitely committing a deviant act.